The game Tetris is the most sold video game in the entire world by cartridges. Everybody knows what Tetris is. Many people have gotten monumental scores in the game. But today, with no prior Tetris experience, I'm going to set out to get 100,000 score. If you don't know what Tetris is somehow, I'll explain to you the basics. So, Tetris is a game that was first released on the NES, short for Nintendo Entertainment System, back in 1989. That's 35 years ago at the time this video was made in 2024. So, in Tetris, there are blocks falling from the top of your screen, and you can move them side to side, left or right, and rotate them again, left or right. Your goal is to create lines across the entire screen with the pieces to get points. There are four types of line clears: singles, doubles, triples, and Tetrises. Tetrises are four line clears, and they by far give you the most amount of points of all the line clears. They give you four times the amount of points as the second most amount of points from a line clear, triples. They give you four times the amount of points from triples. So logically, to get tons of points, your goal is to get as many Tetrises as you can to get a good high score. Every 10 lines you clear, the game levels up to the next level. It plays the level up sound, and it changes the color palette. For example, at 10 lines, you go from level 0 to level 1. Yes, there is actually a level 0. And at 20 lines, you go from level 1 to level 2. At 30 lines, you go from level 2 to level 3, etc. Now, every time you level up and go to the next level, you get more points per line, and the game's pieces move down faster. On level 0, it should be physically impossible for you to get lost. Like, for you to lose on level 0, you have to be a first-time player. Because if you have any experience in the game, any more than, let's say, 5 to 10 hours, you should not be losing on level 0. Level 0, the pieces fall one block, probably, I would guess, every, 1.5 to 2 seconds. If you think about it, that's a lot of time for how big the Tetris board is and how many little blocks that it can go. Because it's impossible to lose due to that the speed goes so slowly. But later on, you will fail eventually, because the game reaches speeds so fast that the pieces at the max speed on level 29 fall in just 1/3 of a second. 1/3 of a second is probably a little bit slower than your reaction time. The average reaction time is probably like 200 to 250 milliseconds. So, it's kind of hard to process the next piece that's coming down and to move the piece that fast at the exact same time. Now I got all of this explaining stuff out of the way. Let's jump into the rules for this challenge. First, obviously, no hacking, because, do I really have to explain why hacking is not allowed? Second, don't expect a perfectly legit run, because I'm not going to buy an NES, Nintendo Entertainment System, and then buy a Tetris cartridge, because I don't need to do that, because there's versions online like emulators. So for this challenge, don't expect this to be a perfectly legit run, again, because I don't have an NES, and I'm going to be using an emulator on the website retrogames.cz. But I won't use cheats, because cheats are allowed on that emulator. They literally give you cheats. And again, like I just said, no mods or cheats. I know there aren't that many rules, but what can you really restrict in a challenge while playing Tetris, of all games? In other games, of course, yeah, Tetris. No, you can't really hack. And even if you tried, it would be extremely obvious. Into the games now. My first one was pretty depressing. I'll be honest. I get that the first few runs shouldn't be good, but I didn't get one line on my first few runs. I got less than 100 points for each run, because it's depressing, like I just said. Then, after like 5 minutes of playing the game, I started getting a few lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. Still, not many lines were cleared, but it was a start. I mean, any progress is progress in my opinion, I guess, even if it's by, let's say, 20 points. Straight from when I started, I immediately started going for Tetrises because I knew that they were worth the most amount of points by a long shot. But I could never set up the Tetris as well because I had no experience in the game really. So I mean, like, what could you expect from somebody who barely has any experience in the game? But I still went for them because I knew they were worth the most amount of points. So, and I thought it was obvious that I should go for them no matter my skill level. I could never set up the Tetris as well, so I never really got any points. But then I started to get as many lines as I could, because then later in the game, the points would go up. Because a Tetris on level 0 is half the points of a Tetris on level 1. Because on level 0, a Tetris is worth about 1200 points. And then on level 1, it's 2400. Level 2, it's 3600. Level 3, it's 4800. And so on. I know I keep saying like and so on, but deal with it because I'm going to be saying that a lot. So, I never got the Tetrises. Even if I did, I would only get 1000 points. This was the first time I got to level 1. Just when I started just clearing lines, chilling, not getting the Tetrises, I made progress. You know, I was still miles away from my goal of 100,000 points, but it's a decent start, I guess, right? I mean, before this, I'd never played Tetris in my life. Scam Tetris, like things like Sandtris, if you've ever seen that before, or the real one, or even the modern versions that are out today on the things like Nintendo Switch, probably other consoles that I don't know. Then I realized I would have to try as hard as I could to even get close to there, because I can't really make it to a very high level because of controls. I had to use the arrow keys. So if I wanted to move a piece to the side fast, I would have to jitter click that as fast as possible. So I couldn't play like the pros because I know that they have the real NES and they have the NES controller. And then I've seen videos on Tetris before, so I know that they use this technique called rolling, where they use all 4 fingers on the back of their controller to push it into tons of inputs on the top of the controller. But I couldn't really do that with my laptop. Plus this console isn't really old. Like, it's not really a console, it's a laptop. What do you want me to do? Roll my fingers at the bottom of my laptop? So, anyways, I couldn't play with the pros. I wasn't really able to move the pieces from side to side that fast. The good thing, though, is that I couldn't most of the time. Think of where I was going to put the piece. I was able to think right in the section where it says next. I was able to see the next tracks immediately. Like, if I saw the piece inside of the next box, where it tells you which piece is going to be next, as I was putting the less piece down, I was able to be like, where should I put this piece? And I was able to figure out a good spot to put it most of the time when the pieces weren't going down that fast, and I wasn't really in that much pressure, because at this point, there couldn't really be any pressure because my high score isn't like that high, and most of the time I'll probably get close to my high score because it's so close to 0 points that it would be hard to like fail to get close unless I tried to. If I wasn't able to do that most of the time, it would make things a lot harder. My first 100,000 score, yeah, it would make that a million times more difficult. I was only 10% of the way there after getting a few Tetrises and getting about 10,000. But like I said before, any progress is progress, and at least I was one step closer to winning the challenge and getting my 100,000. At this point, it was the peak of my Tetris improvement. I improved my high score so fast at this point. After many games, I'd gone 15,000, 20,000, 30,000, and even more. The points keep the points. The points had been so easy to get. I think it was because of my new strategy. My new strategy was to keep the board low at the beginning because Tetrises weren't worth nearly as much at this point in the game. Keep in mind, I started at level 0 because I thought starting at that point, like past that point, was cheating since it takes 10 lines to get to the next level. I thought if you start on, for example, level 7, I thought it would only take 10 lines to get to level 8, but it turns out you have to get the lines for every level up to the one that you started at combined. So if I start on level 7, then I would have to get 80 lines because I had to get the lines for level 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, which 8 times 10 is 80. But I didn't know this at the time. So I started on level 0. Anyways, I started out for the first few levels to not get any Tetrises because again they are worth a lot less at this stage of the game. I would traditionally wait until level 3 to start getting Tetrises because they are worth 4 times the value of Tetrises on level 0. This strategy would work wonders for me because I didn't risk getting Tetrises at the beginning to ruin the run and waste my own time. I easily got high scores. Then I realized that the lines for starting on a higher level would stack up, and I immediately started at level 5. This speed was still pretty slow, but the Tetrises were worth 7,000 points each. So logically, I got as many Tetrises here as I could, because if I failed, it wouldn't really matter, because it's not like I made it to the next level at all anyway, because I need 60 lines. After many games with no luck, I finally got an amazing score for this challenge. Over 75,000 points. Over 75,000. This score is monumental for me. I was 3/4 of the way there. I was just so close to the goal. Only 25,000 score away. The next high score would get me so close to the goal, or maybe even get the 100,000 points that I had needed. I was so close, yet so far. After many days and many games of Tetris, I thought I might not be able to complete this challenge. Immediately, the next day, I booted up Tetris and I started the game. Now, I started on level 6 this time because I thought that the higher point value would help for the speed increase from level 5 to level 6. And the point value is definitely worth the speed that it increases. Right as I switched it, I actually got it immediately. I started the game and got Tetris after Tetris. The Tetrises were so easy to get. I was on a roll. I was rolling like Sonic does. I had passed level 6 and I had looked at the final score counter right when I lost. It was 94,000 score. 94% of the way there. 6,000 off. 6,000 off. 6% of the challenge left. I had finally gotten the score I had been looking for days. This score was on the cusp of 100,000. It would be bound to get insanely soon. After a few days, I had thought that I was going to get the score the next day, or the next day, or the next day. After multiple days, thinking that I was going to get it soon, I thought that there might not have been a chance for me to get the 100,000. But at the start of the day, of the next day, I'd gone 50,000 multiple times. And yeah, that was only halfway to the completion. But I thought that day was the day, just because of the consistent high scores. Normally I would have a fluke in a day, which means that most of my scores would be pretty low, and then I would get a really good score. But at this point, I'd gone crazily high scores, averaging a lot higher than usual. That day just felt like the best day to get it. After every run, every look at the final score, I didn't get it. I just couldn't get it. I thought I almost might as well quit. I tried to go for the score on one last day, and these were the results. After some pretty average runs, not getting anything crazy, I just arrived on another run. The last run. A run I thought would just be another run. Until I got further and further. 1 Tetris, 2 Tetrises, 3 Tetrises, and so on. The score kept increasing, until I had made it past level 6, level 7, and it was level 7 time. I beat level 7, I beat level 8, I got to level 9, made a horrible drop, and I took a peek at the final score. Over 10,000, over 20,000, over 50,000, over 75,000, over my previous record, and I did it. I finally did it. I had beaten the 100,000 score mark. I even got 120,000. It was like the entire challenge was an easy pushover. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you would like more videos on games I've never played before, such as Tetris, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and share this video with anybody you know so I can keep making these videos. Goodbye!